All right, good morning, My Tech High students. My name is Michelle Dixon. I am a program director at My Tech High, and we are going to have this webinar with Jérémy Chevallier from Crash. Noah Strongin, one of our students, will be the moderator for this experience. I'm going to turn the time to you. Noah, go take it away.
All right, thank you. So we're super excited to have Jérémy from Crash with us. I'll just tell a bit about him, and then I'll turn the time over to him. So he has a passion for creating remarkable user experiences. He earned a degree in graphic design and interned at an award-winning ad agency, and he started his own marketing agency twice. He speaks French, and he loves working at the intersection of entrepreneurship and big societal problems like education and jobs. He is currently searching for product market fit at Crash, a job application tool for job seekers without experiences or degrees. I'll turn the time over to you, Jérémy.
Thanks so much, both of you. It's great to be here. I have some prepared thoughts to share and answers to all of your great questions that you submitted ahead of time. I just want to start by experimenting because I'm using this macro tool. I'm going to try sharing my screen, and we should see the correct thing, right? Only need two things to get a job. Okay, get a thumbs up if you're seeing that. Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'll start with a few short slides, give context for everything that we'll talk about. And then what we'll do is we'll run through the questions submitted ahead of time. And I'd love to know if it was your question, or if you have that question and you're on the call and you want to ask a follow-up question, feel free to just unmute yourself. So yeah, so at Crash, I say that we're finding product market fit. Some of you may know what that means. In early stage startups, product market fit means you've built a product that the market wants, they fit together, and you start feeling that pull, right? More and more people want what you produce, and you kind of can't keep up with it. Once you have that, the startup problem goes from figuring that out to pouring fuel on the fire and growing as quickly as possible to capture a significant portion of market share. And along the way, companies raise venture capital. They raise millions of dollars from institutional investors, from angel investors, from crowdfunding, various sources of money. And they need to deploy that capital. And the way that they deploy that capital is into people. A CEO's job to hire the best possible people, to build the best possible team, and to find product market fit. And once product market fit is found, then to scale the company. And so we like to give a little context as to, what a job actually is. A job is a contribution of value to moving a company forward. And when you think about sort of like your basic beginner jobs, like working in retail or in restaurants or kind of anything like that, you are creating value, but it's not necessarily knowledge work so much as when we think about like video production. I mean, I heard all three of you say that you're like dabbling in the arts, design, like creative space. Like there's a ton that we could talk about that there. That's the background that I come from. And each of those things has a function, has value to like a department, to the whole company. And so what we like to tell job seekers or anybody who's just like interested in building a strong, rewarding, fulfilling career is that you only need two things to get a good job in knowledge work. The first thing you need is the ability to create value for that company. So if you have the ability to capture video and edit that video and edit it down into a 3-minute short that they can use, that the company can use as a marketing piece on their website, on social media, whatever it may be, then you have the ability to create value. The important thing is to keep in mind what matters to companies specifically, because what they don't care about is how much you deserve the job or, things like that. And so when we think about it in context of what matters to companies, we can think of the following things. Companies want to find new customers. They want to keep their customers coming back. They want to run more efficiently and create a strong culture. The good companies want to invest in their people and their workplace culture. And those are kind of the general buckets that you can think about. And so anything that fits into one of these buckets is fair. So when we think about finding new customers, we think about doing things like sales and marketing. Well, sales and marketing need marketing collateral. They need assets that are created by designers and by copywriters and content writers, video editors. So those functions can be used to find new customers. They can also be used to keep customers coming back in the form of remarketing or nurturing and providing offers to get customers to come back. They can also come in the form of contributing to that company's product, which by definition, when you have a great product that provides a great experience, users or customers will keep coming back and keep using it. The way we are all on Zoom today, because Zoom is a thing that provides value to us. Same goes with running more efficiently. So there's so much opportunity to create value for companies in like the operations category. And finally, creating a strong culture, which sort of comes down to like people ops, or like what we classically think of as HR. But creating a strong culture as in working with the people internally, hiring great people, helping them, become better professionals and just investing in them. And then finance also, if anybody's interested in finance related things, that definitely fits into running more efficiently. But the whole point is like, whatever you're interested in, and to whatever degree you know what you're interested in, if you are kind of like, yeah, I don't really know, that's okay. But to whatever degree you can articulate what you do, what you like to do, what you want to be doing as a career, or at least for this first career move, learn if that's actually for you, articulate that in terms that matter to them, right? So when I say these 4 things, it's like, it's great that you can create video, or that you can, make cool stuff in InDesign or in Illustrator, or whatever else you may want to do that you enjoy doing. Like, it's great that you do those things, but the important thing is to understand how that helps the company and to frame it in a way that it can help them. So rather than saying, man, I love designing stuff that looks really cool, you have to understand how companies benefit from designing things that look cool. So in the form of marketing, in the form of customer success, to help users and customers get the most out of the product, etc. So that takes some exploratory work, but it's just to give you a sense that like, on your job hunt and as you're building your career, you're operating from a place of empathy for the person on the other end of the conversation. What do they care about? What are their motives? Which are not usually to just pay you a lot of money, as a grant, but rather to exchange that salary for some form of value from you. So the easier you make it for them to understand how you're valuable to them, the better chance you are of getting hired quickly and doing something that you will enjoy. So that's number 1, the ability to create value. And number 2 is the ability to prove it. Now, this is equally important, because if you can create value for people, but you can't prove that you can create that value, then somebody's got to take a bet on you. They've got to sort of say, okay, we're going to bet that this person can indeed do what they say they can do. And that's risky. Even if you think about like on the lower end of like full-time knowledge work salaries coming in like the 20,000s per year, like it's a lot of money for a company to be investing into you, and they have to ramp you up to full capacity and everything. So like it's a big investment to hire. And if anybody's a fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V has a great quote that says, hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. And He's extremely right. So when somebody is hiring you, they're guessing that you're going to be a good hire. Now, the way that you can make it easier for them to guess right that you are a good hire is to really put yourself out there in the form of your body of work. So these are crash pitches. This is what job seekers make on Crash. And what you can see is that every single pitch has a project on it. So yeah, it shows the candidate on video. It helps you sort of like distinguish yourself and your personality and share your excitement for the company specifically. But it also showcases work that person has done. So like in Justin's case, episode 3, behind the scenes, this dream setup, blah, blah, blah. This is his behind the scenes video in collaboration with LG Electronics for a festival. So like he produced that video and they can go and click on it and see the quality of work, the caliber of work that he can produce. And Patreon will know based on that it sort of removes some of that guesswork, right? It makes them more confident in Justin Harris, and same for the other two. So the way that you frame this is when you're starting these conversations, and we'll talk about how to find companies, how to just like even initiate conversation. But the important thing is to rely on like flattery in a sense. Like, we all like it when somebody, tells us something that they like about us. In the same way, the job hunt is supremely boring when you're going on job boards and doing one-click apply and not really learning anything about the companies and just sort of blasting, your resume out there. It's far more interesting, and you actually focus on companies that are exciting to you. And again, we'll talk about how to find companies that are not on job boards, that are sort of not on the most obvious radar. But then you just tell them why you're excited about them. And that feels really good to them. And that immediately starts to set you apart from other candidates, because they're like, oh, wow, this person actually like researched what we do. And has a specific connection to what we do, rather than just sort of this anonymous, faceless application. Then your job is to convince them to take a bet on you. Why you specifically? And you don't have to have any kind of amazing credentials. You can do this without a high school diploma, without a college degree. Like, those things add to your signal, but you can create a strong signal through some of the stuff that I've shown already, and we can talk more about side projects and everything. And then finally, a call to action, a moving forward of the conversation. And you'll find that some of you probably already know this and live this, but leadership leadership is the ability to just get people to move forward on things, right? It's the ability to flick snowballs in different directions and have them turn into avalanches, so to speak. So that what's next component is always super important. Keep that conversation moving forward, and we can talk more about that. I'll break down the elements of the pitch real quick. So here's just a killer pitch from this guy named Jonathan to a company called CookDash that's now called forwardkitchens.com. And he was so excited about the sales associate role that he recorded a quick video, put together a list of leads. So boom, intro, then list of leads, actual leads, restaurants in his area that he thought would be a good fit for the company. Now, keep in mind, whether or not this is, whether or not these are actually good leads for CookDash is irrelevant, because it's a bonus if they are, right? But he's proved that he's willing, that he understands what they need on a high level, that he can go find leads, which is literally what one big part of this role, and that he has the initiative and the curiosity to go ahead and just start doing that. And all of this list of leads is a Google sheet, right? It's a spreadsheet in Google Sheets of like 10 restaurants, and it's excellent. Now, he's also proving that he understands the software tools that are needed to get this job done. So Salesforce, SalesLoft, among other things. And so he's showing, I know how to use these tools. And then finally, not finally, he's backing it up with a testimony from a coworker at, I don't know what Wuji is, but Fogo de Chao is a Brazilian steakhouse, right? Like those are not like tech sales roles, but the testimonial doesn't need to be about tech sales roles because it speaks to his work ethic and his focus. And it's really, really powerful. And then finally, he closes it off. I'd love to talk about how I can take Cook Dash to the next level. Let's email and speak. And he moves that conversation forward and makes it extremely easy for the founder of Cook Dash to say yes to a conversation. Not, will you hire me at $40,000 a year plus commission? Let's have a conversation. So overall, that's what a great pitch looks like. That's what the Crash platform is for. When you do this instead of the status quo job hunting process, we find so far data shows that it takes 3 of these to land an official interview and 9 to get an offer. And you compare that to hundreds of applications and resume blasting and everything, and you realize that not only is it like more fun and faster results, but you also become more valuable as a professional. You take the opportunity, you take the job hunt as an opportunity to increase your value so that that your slope of growth is positive, instead of spending 3 months applying everywhere and not learning or doing anything new or anything interesting. So the ultimate goal is to get hired, right? To get that offer. But even before you get the offer, you can track success by the interviews that you get. But even before you win interviews, like official interviews, you can track responses. And you know that if you're getting responses from people, if you're starting conversations with business leaders, right? And these people are not untouched. They're super active on Twitter most of the time, and they respond to DMs and stuff. Like these are just like human beings that are like 10 to 20 years older than you guys, but that's it. That's the only difference. And so optimize for responses. You just want to start conversations, learn more about them, get a little bit of back and forth rapport with them, and try to tease out some information about them. So throughout this process, yeah, you want the offer, but the real value, like if you look at the offer as like the one job offer that you are going to accept, as being sort of the tip of the iceberg, everything under the iceberg is things like forming new connections in an industry that you're interested in, to business leaders who are movers and shakers, whose first startup may fail and their second one may be a rocket ship. You're receiving helpful feedback that, again, helps you continue to grow as an early career professional. And perhaps most valuably, you can even earn warm introductions to founders and CEOs and companies that you didn't know existed. And if you get a warm introduction from somebody in this world, back to the testimonial at the bottom of Jonathan's pitch, like that speaks volumes. That instantly puts you in sort of a different class, a different category. It gives you what we call the inside track. So that's pretty much the spiel as far as like stuff thinking about. The last thing I'll say, and then we can start to sort of open it up into Q&A, is macro, stop sharing screen. The last thing I'll say is that you do not need to be on the job hunt to start doing this stuff. And we'll talk about side projects and what it means to like learn out loud and work out loud. But all that to say, like, we really, really love working with ambitious people who are younger, in college, or even like at the upper end of high school. Like the earlier you are in your career, the younger you are, the more of an advantage you have. You have more time to sort of build a track record, to build these connections in this network. And it's really, really more effective to start before you're actually like in need of a job. So I'll sort of end it there. And I'd love to know if, before I get into the question list that you guys see ahead of time, if this has sparked any conversations that are top of mind for you right now that you'd like to just and ask, and we can sort of kick off Q&A that way.
Well, actually, my question was pretty relevant to what you're actually talking about. But I'd like to expand just a little bit. So my question was that I want to know like some common mistakes that people make on their, their resume or applications, because I've kind of been experiencing the thing where just I haven't heard back from anybody, right? I submitted like 20 to 30 applications, and I know it could be this pandemic, just screwing things up, but I think I'd still like to know some mistakes that people make that I possibly could be making myself unknowingly.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's super common. That's one of the things that most people want to know is like, why isn't it working for me? Like, what am I doing wrong? With these types of questions, it's hard to know exactly like what you're doing wrong or like what your mistakes are, because I don't know exactly what companies you've applied to, what job boards you've used, etc. But the general answer is kind of just the whole process. It's like the status quo is the mistake, and that's why. And like Crash, like the work that we're doing at Crash right now is difficult. We're trying to shift an entire industry to a different approach to job hunting, right? Everything that I just showed you is how sales people already go about like prospecting for leads and reaching out to them, and sort of juggling different opportunities, getting on the phone, etc. Like same thing goes for like professional freelancers who are doing. Same thing goes for just like any entrepreneur that's trying to like raise money or in some other way like break in. It's like the job hunting process as a whole is just really like bloated and noisy. So put yourself in the shoes of a hiring manager who posts on Angel List or wherever they post their job, and they get hundreds of applications just like yours. And my guess is that you didn't do the bare minimum when you applied. You probably took some time and really like thoughtfully answered the questions and everything. But you're still in a pile, and they have to find you, and they have no way of finding you other than going through and like scrolling through application by application. And so in the same way that you guys probably all have like subjects in school that you find really tedious and wish you didn't have to do, or have had those experiences in the past, so too, no hiring manager wants to like sift through resumes and applications. Like they actually want you to reach out in a different way. So and it's not your fault, and it's not their fault. It's just the way job hunting sort of became, and the way recruiting sort of like fell into place in this way. And so again, our work at Crash is really hard right now because we're trying to build a marketplace where you guys are pitching companies, and they're also like early stage companies need to like prove that that you should take a bet on them, because that's what you're doing as well when you go work at a younger company that's not Dell or like Apple or whatever. Like the Apples of 10 years from now, or the Googles of 10 years from now, like they need to sort of show their stuff and prove that they're worthy of you sinking a year or 2 years or 5-10 years of your career at that company. And so on both sides, we're trying to show this new path that's like, you don't need to ask 6 questions that the applicant responds to in text-based format. Like we have video technology now. We have rich media, and the applicants that you're hearing from can actually like prove themselves to you through the work that they're creating. And so to sort of wrap up my answer to this question, the common mistakes are not really proving your ability to create value for a company. Because even if you write, a 3-paragraph, article in response to like how you want to help the company or like what you're interested in, like it's still just talk, right? It's still just text. But as soon as you start showing your stuff and saying, look at my Vimeo channel, or look at my Behance profile, or if you're not a designer, not a developer, you don't have a GitHub, you're sort of like a non-technical person, then look at my Crash profile. Like, look at the work that I've put together, just to show off kind of like what I'd do for this company if I was working for them, or what I could do for you guys if I was working for you guys. That's one mistake, is just like doing what everybody else does to try to get attention. Because what happens is like, you're trying to create a signal in all of the noise. And the current tools don't allow you to create a strong signal. And so you create a strong signal, and you will start having conversations with the decision makers in these companies. You will start moving things along, moving things forward, getting like trial projects, right? They'll be like, okay, well, let's try you out for 30 days. Or, let's put you on this specific project and see how we work together, and blah, 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 blah. And that's how we're seeing most entry-level candidates these days break into tech and win roles at really fast-growing tech companies, is through a sort of like trial process where you get to try the company on, they get to try you on, you get to decide if that kind of work is even interesting to you, or if like you hate it or you suck at it, then you get to sort of course correct. So I'm going to lead that into 3 questions about side projects. What is a side project? Why should I have them? And how do I talk about them? What we typically think of as side projects are like passion projects, things that we do just because they're interesting to us. So for example, I have a side project I'm really interested in you mentioned in your introduction to me. I'm really interested in the intersection of like technology and like government, legislation, etc. So I have this side project called Wikiprop, where I tediously go through legislation for like propositions, ballot propositions, and I translate them section by section just for my own understanding. And then I publish that. Like, nobody's paying me to do that. It's a passion project. And if for whatever reason, which is very likely, at some point in my career, I want to try to go work for Ballotpedia or Ballot Ready, or there's a new startup that just came out of YC called Voting Works. Like, if I want to go work at a company that's in that space, boom, I can say, look what I've been doing since 2014 for no money, just for fun, like on the side, on evenings and weekends, just because I enjoy doing it. And the reason why you should have side projects is primarily because you want to do stuff, because you want to dabble. There shouldn't be an ulterior motive, but the secondary benefit is that it will unlock doors for you. I mean, the work that I've done in Wikiprop so far could end up being a startup on its own, and maybe I end up raising venture capital and building a team to produce this really at scale. So like there's secondary benefits, there's like long-term benefits of side projects. But the primary reason to have them is because if you didn't need money, if you could just sit and twiddle your thumbs all day, what would you do? There's an element of just like, as human beings, we're creative. We want to try stuff, and what better than to try stuff that you're interested in, and to sort of answer, how do I talk about my side project? The answer is you build in public, or you learn out loud, you work out loud. And this concept means you publish your process. It can be as simple as on TikTok, like, doing TikToks about like what you're learning about, growth marketing. Let's say you ran across growth marketing. You're like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, you're in Dave Gerhardt's marketing group and you're like learning from Dave Gerhardt. And you distill your insights, you record your thoughts and your sort of thinking process on video, and you publish that, or you write a short blog post about it and you publish that, or you write a Twitter thread about that and you publish that. And learning out loud, working out loud, building in public is also a really common phrase. We see this a lot in startups nowadays. In fact, there's a really cool company called Toucan. The website, it's a Chrome extension that changes words on the page into the target language that you want to learn. So like, I want to learn Spanish, so I download Toucan, and it changes words on the page. Well, their founder or one of their founders, the CEO, she's super public about what they're building, the mistakes that they make, like when they take things out of their product, when they ship new things into their product. And she's super, super loud on Twitter about all of these things. And as a result, not only does it sort of generate more interest and excitement around the company and the product, but she also gets to hear back feedback from people about what's working, what's not, and generates ideas and conversations that actually improves the product. And so in the same way, you and your side project should be as public as you're comfortable being, because that shows that growth trajectory. And more companies nowadays, these really like just modern, innovative companies that are trying to grow and build the best possible team and don't know how to find you guys. These companies, they don't hire for your y-axis. They don't look for where you are right now. How experienced are you? How, they don't hire for the y-axis. They hire for your slope. And so it doesn't matter if the first time you talk to them, you have dabbled in Premiere Pro for a week. What matters is that the next time you talk to them, you've published a video. And it doesn't matter if the video sucks, you published it. And the next time you talk to them, or the following week, you publish a new video, or whatever your thing is, whatever you like doing, or whatever you're interested in at this moment in time. What matters is to build that track record that you do. And so I'll leave it there. Any follow-up questions to that? Otherwise, I've got a list to move on to.
So I have a few things real quick. So you talked about proving yourself, right? So what I did is right now I'm stuck with 2 clients. I have a dentist and a chiropractor. For the chiropractor, I just barely started working with them, and I have 5 leads so far this week. With the dentist, I've been working with them for 3 months, and I've got them 124 leads. How should I be able to reach out to others around the area and show them what I've done, and how can I kind of showcase that and just grow my audience? Because I've been trying LinkedIn and Facebook, but I don't know, you kind of just hit a lot of rough bumps there.
Yeah. In more traditional businesses, LinkedIn can be effective. The thing to keep in mind is about LinkedIn specifically is that it is it has become overrun with salesy, I don't even check my connection requests anymore. So there's so much noise on LinkedIn now that it can be tough. When you say grow your audience, do you mean that you personally are trying to build an audience that you own, or grow the chiropractor's audience and the dentist's audience?
Yeah, try to grow my own, trying to get more clients, because I know I can handle a lot more of a load, but I just need more of them coming into me.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So the way that you grow an audience is you offer stuff for free. Primarily, you think about a marketing funnel, and the way that you sort of get people in the door to say yes to something is to make it easy for them to say yes. So we call them lead magnets. If you ever like downloaded a PDF on the internet, that's a lead magnet. You exchanged your email address for it, and now you're a part of that company's audience or that person's audience. You can have a newsletter or YouTube channel that people subscribe to. The one important thing to keep in mind with an audience is that you should own the audience. So if you got like a YouTube channel, for example, people will subscribe to it, but like you see nothing about those people, or like you might see like, their profiles or whatever, but like YouTube owns that audience. Whereas if you have a website where you're allowing people to exchange their email address for something of value to them, like a guide to getting started with marketing your dentist practice or your chiropractic practice, then you own that person's, you don't own their email, but you own the audience in the sense that you have a direct relationship with that person rather than having to go through a platform like Facebook or YouTube. And if you watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix, that talks a lot about that kind of stuff, like, how the platforms really sort of maintain ownership. But then the other important thing to keep in mind, and we can chat more about this off the record because I do a lot of like entrepreneurship coaching as well for creatives. And important thing to keep in mind is that like there are people who are ready to buy your services now. They're ready to hire you now. And there are people who are not. If they're aware of the value of what you do for them, such as video marketing, then all you need to do is keep those conversations going and try to be helpful in sort of a non-committal sense. You don't have to spend time that you're not getting paid for, but to just try to be helpful to them in their marketing and suggest ways that they could use video to enhance that. And at some point it'll click for them and you can do things to sort of shorten that time to click. But at some point it'll click and they'll be in the market. They'll be in the consideration phase for somebody like you. And if you've been nurturing their attention and being helpful to them during that whole time, then they have no reason to go anywhere else. As long as the quality of work that you produce is what they're looking for, then you can basically consider that client yours. And then your last step is just to close them. And then the last piece to that question is, on the highest level, like somebody that you really know nothing about, they may have downloaded something from your website or subscribed to your, free weekly newsletter or whatever it may be. But you don't know anything about them. The best thing that you can do is to not try to do like marketing at scale activities like surveys or, blasts. Like obviously that's what a newsletter is and that's fine, but take every opportunity to start one-to-one conversations to learn about them and learn about their business. And actually there's one last piece to it. So make it personal. And then finally, publish your case studies. So when you've been able to generate business for a chiropractic office, that's just money. Publish that and say, this is how I generated this amount of business for this client in this number of months. And what'll happen is anybody that's in a similar business will pretty much be able to see how it applies to them, how your work for this chiropractor applies to me as a general physician, or they can sort of bridge that gap. But the more case studies you produce that are niche specific, so like how I grew this chiropractor's business or how I grew this dentistry, the more results you'll have in that particular field, because it's just so much easier to like superimpose to say, oh, wow, he did that for this dentistry. Like he could totally do it for mine. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. And then you should definitely email me and we can continue the conversation. Okay. I want to tap into in the last few minutes here. How are we doing on time, Michelle, by the way? Sorry, I caught you off guard.
You're doing well. I'm sorry I was muted. You're great. Keep going.
Okay, cool. Thanks. There's a long question. I'm not sure how to go about getting into my dream job in the field I want, hoping to get ideas on how to get out in the workplace, into the field, hoping that'll give me some direction on how to get into the working field. I've always sort of worked for my parents. We've run a business together, and so I'm not quite sure how to get out into the workforce by myself. I'm not sure how to do that yet. And this is kind of the same question as how can you prepare for your dream job? What can I do to prepare for the workforce? How can I start preparing now for my dream job? How can you find good jobs that fit your needs? So you guys all have pretty similar questions in this respect. There's a really cool framework that we teach as part of the crash course that is, picture a Venn diagram with 3 bubbles, and the intersection is what you want to say yes to. Now, the 3 bubbles are not your passion and things you're great at and things other people value, because you don't necessarily know exactly what you're passionate about. You don't exactly know what you're naturally gifted at, or like you'll discover those things over time. And so if you're not sure kind of like what direction to start running in, instead focus on things that you don't hate. Like, as long as you don't viscerally dislike it, and as long as you don't suck at it, like there are things that I openly admit that I suck at, and I just like don't enjoy doing them. And we avoid those things. So anything that you don't hate and don't suck at that other people value is fair game. And the other people value thing comes back to the things that I mentioned earlier in my presentation about what businesses care about. But on the high level, it's okay not to really know exactly what direction you want to go in. You're going to learn that through trial and error. I mean, for me, even like as recently as this year, I've learned that I don't actually love marketing, and I'm not amazing at marketing the way I thought I was. I'm much more of a product guy, and that's really good to know. And I mean, I'm in my late 20s, so like I've got plenty of time to be a successful product leader. But I had no way of knowing that until I went into the world of marketing and tried it and was okay at it, but never amazing. And I, liked it, but I never loved it. Like you'll learn these things about yourself. But to answer how you prepare for your dream job or how you prepare for the work, I think that I've answered a good bit of preparing for your dream job, which comes down to just like living it, right? Like if your dream job is to whatever it is, like there are steps that you can take today to sort of set yourself up for success. So if I said that my dream job was to be the head of product at a GovTech software company, well, I can start lining that up now and sort of planning ahead by doing side projects that prove my passion for GovTech. I can learn more about product and learn out loud and try stuff and to a product role and sort of start going in those directions. And there's not really an answer to like preparedness. It's more so just stacking your blocks, right? Stacking your stats columns over time so that when that dream job presents itself, you already have enough of the pieces in place instead of trying to like scramble. So, and I'm more than happy to go into like specific one-on-one conversations, outside of this presentation. Like hit me up on email, or contact me however MyTech High lets you contact me, and I'm more than happy to jam about your specific situation. What I will say about the workforce, and I'm glad that you guys are asking about this. The important thing to keep in mind, like we think a lot about like a concept of job security. Job security is the idea that your specific job is secure at that company. I'm not going to get fired or laid off. When in reality, your job is only as secure as that company is stable and believes that your position creates value for the company. And especially in larger corporations, That's sort of a toss-up. Like you never really know. So instead, what you should be optimizing for is career security. And career security means having skills that are valuable to the entire workforce, to the entire job market, or to the job market on the whole. So if you're a people person, if you love interacting with people, understanding people, and helping them get the most out of whatever they're trying to do, then you could kick ass in customer success or sales, or other roles as well. But like those are very people facing roles. And when you understand that about yourself, you realize that it's actually okay to not have job security for a specific job. But to know that any company that needs somebody who's good with people to correspond with customers and try to help them get the most out of their services or their product, any of those companies would be lucky to have you. And suddenly it sort of takes the pressure off of having to like, hold on tight to one specific job. And you realize, no, I'm valuable to lots of companies in this particular way. And that's career security. And that's far more valuable. I see that you sent a chat message. Sorry, I'm just pulling it up here. Oh, I don't even see it.
Let's start wrapping it up. Does anyone have any further questions?
Yep. I'll wrap it up with this very last question on this list here, which is what key factors should I take into account when deciding what company to work for? This is an excellent question, and I'm not going to be able to answer it in a minute. But on a very high level, the more you understand about how companies succeed and fail, the better choices you'll be able to make about which companies to consider working for, which companies to accept offers from. And it goes back to the question of like product market fit. A company that does not have product market fit is what we call default dead. And their job is to find product market fit and prove that they're alive. Once they have product market fit, then there are a lot more factors that are more important. But even before they have product market fit, other factors like leadership is probably the number one thing that you should be looking for. So the number one reason I accepted this job at Crash, because I'm very entrepreneurial and I wasn't necessarily looking for a job, was because of our CEO, Isaac Morehouse. I wanted to work with him and to learn from him and everything. And he's a phenomenal leader. So I would say the number one key factor to take into account when you're deciding what companies to work for is who's at the helm, who are the founders, who's in the C-suite, and do they have the chops? Like, do they seem like they have the chops to really make something successful? And if so, befriend them, engage them on Twitter, do whatever you can to be valuable to them and to get a chance to prove yourself. And you will rise through the ranks much, much faster than you realize. All right. I know we got to go.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jeremy. That was definitely a whole goldmine of information. I know I got a bunch of notes.
Awesome.
So I hope everybody else took something away from this that you can apply to your own life. So if you want to check out more about Jeremy and Crash, go ahead and refer to that doc that was sent. And we'll go ahead and close. So thank you for coming.
Thank you all so much for joining. Great questions. I have no doubts about your ability to succeed. Feel free to reach out if we can help in any way. Try Crash out, build your profile, and I look forward to seeing what all of you do.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day.